The great palace of Varelia was quiet, too quiet. The tall crystal walls no longer glowed with light. The sky above the royal city was dark, heavy with clouds, and deep inside the palace, in a large golden room, the alien princess lay still. On a floating bed, Princess Lorena was once called the shining star of Varelia. She was strong, wise, and full of life. Now her skin had turned pale blue, her breath slow and weak. Her eyes barely opened as royal healers stood helpless around her. "She is slipping away," one healer whispered. Another shook his head. "We've used every cure from every system." A third healer looked at the emperor. "Your Majesty, there is nothing more we can do." The emperor's face was hard like stone, but his hands trembled as he walked to his daughter's side. He touched her hand gently. "My little star," he whispered. "Don't leave us." All over the empire, people waited. They had heard the news the princess was dying from a strange sickness no one could name. The brightest minds had tried to heal her. Doctors from 20 worlds had come, failed, and left. Some believed it was a curse. Others said it was punishment from the gods, but the truth was hidden deep in her blood, and no one could see it. That night, the emperor sat alone in his chamber, staring at the stars through the glass ceiling. He had not eaten in days. He had not slept in longer. Then, a soft voice broke the silence. "My lord," said the old palace advisor, "there is one more option." The emperor turned, his eyes tired. "Another healer." The advisor nodded slowly. "Not from our systems," he said. "From Earth." The emperor frowned. "Earth? That primitive human world. They say a human doctor cured the plague of Dramari III. The advisor explained. "They say he thinks differently, breaks rules. And sometimes he succeeds." The emperor stood up, his cloak dragging behind him. "I will not trust my daughter's life to some outsider savage," he growled. But the advisor stepped forward, brave enough to speak again. "You have trusted everyone else, and they have all failed," he said. "This human has nothing to gain. Maybe that is why he can truly help." The emperor looked at a small screen showing Lorena's fading heartbeat. Then he looked at the stars again. Finally, he nodded. "Find him," he said. "Bring him, whatever it takes, far away." On a quiet green planet called Earth, a man named Dr. Elias Grant was working in his simple lab. His hands moved carefully over glowing tools. He was studying alien blood samples, trying to understand how DNA could be changed to heal, not harm. He lived alone, far from cities. He liked peace, quiet, and solving hard problems with no rules above him. That night, a loud sound shook the sky above his cabin. Elias walked outside and saw a ship not human, not friendly looking. He didn't run, he simply waited. Arms crossed, the ship opened, and tall armored aliens stepped out. One held a small screen showing a photo of Lorena, her eyes closed, her body weak, her face full of pain. "Come with us," the alien said. "A royal life depends on you." Elias blinked. He looked at the photo again. Then he looked at the stars above. Without a word, he nodded, picked up his bag, and followed them. Back in the palace, Lorena's breathing grew worse. She whispered one word in her sleep: "Over." And overlight, the healers stepped back, their tools useless. And the emperor stood at the edge of the room, full of pain, full of silence. His daughter's light was dying, but somewhere out there, a human was on his way. A human who did not know what waited for him. A human who might change everything. And deep in the shadows of the palace halls, someone else watched and listened. A figure hidden in black, unseen by the guards. They touched a small blade at their side and smiled. They did not want the princess saved. They wanted her gone, and if this human doctor got too close to the truth, he would have to disappear too. The stars above Varelia blinked like fading lights. But hope, even the smallest kind, was now moving fast across space. With every second, the battle between life and death grew closer, and the fate of an entire empire hung on one dying girl, and one human who didn't even know her name. The ship that carried Elias was silent inside. No music, no voices. Just the soft hum of engines as stars rushed by outside the windows. Elias sat on a smooth silver bench, holding a small bag filled with tools and medicine. He looked calm, but his mind was racing. He had seen many sick patients in his life. Some had died in his arms. Some had lived because of miracles he didn't fully understand. But this time was different. He was not helping a villager or a worker. He was being taken to heal a princess, an alien royal, powerful and unknown. A voice spoke from a speaker. "Above, we arrive at the palace in 10 minutes, the pilot said. "Prepare yourself." Elias stood, stretched, and walked to the mirror inside the chamber. He looked at his own reflection. His sharp jaw, tired eyes, and something else. Something deep and unreadable. Other doctors called him strange. His methods were unapproved, his techniques too wild. But he always asked one question: does it work? And often, the answer was yes, when the ship landed in a hidden bay of the palace. The guards rushed forward. Their faces were serious, armor shining. "Follow," one of them said. Not waiting for an answer, Elias stepped into a narrow metal hallway lit by cold blue lights. Every step echoed. He felt like he was walking into a tomb. At the door to the royal healing chamber, he stopped. 2 golden guards crossed their weapons. One scanned his eyes, the other checked his bag. "What's this?" the second guard asked, holding up a small green vial. "Hope," Elias replied without blinking. They said nothing more and opened the doors. Inside, Princess Lorena lay just as the picture had shown her, pale, still, and barely alive. Her long, silver hair was spread across the glowing pillows like melted starlight. Her fingers trembled slightly. Machines blinked and beeped around her, showing a body close to shutting down. The emperor stood nearby, arms crossed. His face was full of pride, pain, and fear. "This is the human?" he asked coldly. The advisor nodded. "Yes, my lord." "Fine." The emperor said, "Do your work." And then he turned away. Elias walked to the bed, slowly, gently. He looked at Lorena, not just as a patient, but as a mystery. "Hello?" he whispered, not expecting an answer. Her eyes fluttered for half a second, then closed again. He pulled out his tools, took a small sample of her blood, and began his study for 2 hours. He sat beside her, checking data, testing chemicals, reading her DNA like a story. And what he found made his heart beat faster. "This is not a sickness," he whispered to himself. "This is engineered." He stared at the screen, shocked. Someone had changed her genes. Someone had broken her from the inside slowly. Quietly, this wasn't just illness, it was an attack. A voice came from behind him. "What did you say?" Elias turned, surprised. A young female healer stood there. "Why died her sickness?" he said, choosing his words carefully. "It's not natural." She looked down at the screen, gasped, then stepped back. "This is dangerous knowledge," she whispered. "If the wrong people hear it." "I need to help her," Elias said. "I don't care about politics." The healer hesitated, then gave him a small data chip. "This was hidden in her early medical scans," she said. "It was removed before the council saw them." Elias took the chip, inserted it into his tool, and saw what had been hidden proof that the attack started 2 years ago. And worse, it was done from inside the palace. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A small alarm sounded in the chamber. The machines around Lorena began to shut down one by one. "What's happening?" Elias shouted. The healer looked around in fear. "Someone's trying to stop you." Elias rushed to the machines, bypassing the shutoff codes. Using human tools that alien systems didn't recognize, he kept her alive with his own equipment. For a few minutes, the room was filled with the sounds of fast typing, flashing lights, and a girl's shallow breaths. When the system stabilized, Elias stood back, sweating. He looked at the healer, who was still pale with fear. "She almost died," he said. The healer nodded. "Someone wants her gone, and?" "Now," Elias said, "they know I'm in the way." That night, Elias sat beside Lyrina's bed, not sleeping. He held the green vial tightly in his hand. It was risky, unapproved, and unknown to alien law. But it could rebuild what was broken inside her. He looked at her again, at her peaceful but fading face. "I will save you," he whispered. "Even if it kills me." The secret lab was small. Hidden deep under the royal palace, it smelled of clean metal, strange herbs, and burned wires. This place was not part of the official palace map. No guards stood outside. Only Elias and the healer girl, Vila, knew how to reach it. Elias worked fast, his fingers moving like a storm. The machines around him were a mix of alien tech and human tools he had brought from Earth. Vela stood nearby, watching nervously. "You really think this can save her?" she asked. Elias didn't look up. "I don't think," he said. "I know." The green vial in his hand was something rare. It was made with nanobot serum mixed with alien blood stabilizers and a human-engineered protein chain. This medicine was banned in most parts of the galaxy. It worked too fast, changed the body too deeply. It could save, lives, or destroy them. Elias had used it once before, and it worked. But no one had dared to try it on royalty. "She's too weak for the full dose," Leah said, checking his calculations. "She needs a smaller version first." Vila hesitated. "If anyone finds out we're using that, they won't," Elias said firmly. "Because if we fail, she dies and I disappear. And if we succeed," she whispered. Elias finally looked at her. "Then we become criminals who saved a princess." He walked to Lyrina's bed, her body floating slightly above the glowing platform. She looked the same, pale, still, her breath almost gone. Elias cleaned her arm and carefully injected a microdose of the serum. It glowed faintly as it entered her veins. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Lyrina's fingers twitched, her eyelids moved, and her heartbeat became stronger on the monitor. "She's responding," Elias said quietly. Vila gasped, covering her mouth. "It's working." Suddenly, the lab lights blinked red. A message appeared on one of the screens: "Unauthorized access detected." Someone was trying to locate them. "They're scanning the palace," Vela said, panicked. "They're searching every room." Elias turned off the lights, shut down all outside signals. He activated a human-made cloaking field around the lab. For now, they were invisible, but not safe. "They know I'm doing something," Elias said. "They just don't know where yet." Vela nodded. "We have to be faster." As hours passed, Elias gave Lyrina 2 more tiny doses. Each time, she reacted better. Her skin regained color. Her breath became stronger. The machines started to show signs of healing. Cells that were damaged began repairing. But something strange also happened. Elias noticed a pattern in her blood, something that reacted only to human DNA. "Her body is adapting to my design," he whispered. "It's not just healing. It's changing." Vila looked over his shoulder. "Is that bad?" "I don't know yet," Elias said honestly. "But it's not normal late in the night." Lyrina opened her eyes for the first time. She looked weak, confused, and scared. But her eyes locked onto Elias, and for a brief moment, she smiled. "You're not one of us," she whispered, her voice dry. "No," Elias said softly. "I'm human. Then why are you here?" she asked. He took a deep breath. "Because I couldn't let you die," before he could say more. The screen flashed again, intruders nearby. Vela turned pale. "They found us." Elias moved quickly. shutting off the machines and covering Lorena's bed with a portable shield. "Help me move her," he said. Vela nodded, guiding him through a hidden tunnel that led out the back of the lab. They carried Lorena through the dark passage, her body wrapped in glowing cloth to keep her stable. Behind them, footsteps echoed. Guards, or worse, assassins. Elias gritted his teeth. They don't want her healed. They fear what she'll say if she lives. At the end of the tunnel, a secret chamber opened another room, forgotten by time. They placed Lorena on a simple bed, surrounded by old healing stones and broken tech. Elias restarted the serum feed with backup tools. Vela stood by the door, holding a small blaster in shaky hands. "I'm not a fighter," she said. "You're brave enough to stand here," Elias replied. "That's more than most." As Lorena slept, her body stronger than before. Elias whispered to her, "Who did this to you? Why did they try to erase your light?" "I'll find out," he promised, "and I'll stop them." Outside, the palace glowed with beauty. But inside, secrets moved like poison, and somewhere in the golden halls, a dark figure gave the order. "If the human won't stop, kill him." The secret chamber was cold and quiet. Only the soft hum of healing lights filled the air. Elias sat beside Princess Lorena, checking her vitals again. Her skin had more color now, her breathing steady. But danger was not far. Vela had fallen asleep in the corner, her blaster still. In her hands, she had stood guard all night. Elias admired her courage. She wasn't trained to fight, but she had stayed. He stared at the readings on his device. The serum was working, but something strange was happening. Lorena's DNA was changing, but becoming something new, more stable, more powerful, more human. As Elias leaned back, rubbing his eyes, he heard something, a soft click like a footstep on stone. He froze, slowly standing up. The chamber had only one entrance through the tunnel, and someone was in it. He turned off the healing lights, grabbing a small scalpel from his bag. The shadows grew deeper. A shape moved at the edge of the tunnel, then stepped forward, tall, thin, dressed in black. Their face hidden behind a smooth silver mask. The figure said nothing. They raised a hand and pointed at Elias. He saw the blade, dark, curved, glowing. Faintly, a nightstone dagger, it could cut through almost anything. Even the shield that protected Lorena, Elias, didn't speak. He moved slowly. Stepping between the assassin and Lorena, "You'll have to go through me," he said quietly. The masked figure rushed forward without a sound. Faster than Elias expected, but Elias wasn't slow. He dodged, grabbed a chair, and slammed it toward the attacker. It broke apart but gave him time. The noise woke Vela. She jumped to her feet and fired the blaster. A flash of light hit the assassin's shoulder, making them stumble back, but not fall. They turned toward her, blade raised. Elias lunged from behind, tackling the assassin to the ground. The blade slashed across his arm, hot pain shooting through him. Still, he held on. "Run," he shouted to Vela. "Get help." But Vela didn't run. She grabbed a metal rod and swung it with all her strength. It hit the assassin's mask, cracking it. The figure rolled away and vanished back into the tunnel. Gone as quickly as they came, Elias sat on the floor, bleeding. And breathing hard, Vela dropped beside him, tears in her eyes. "You're hurt," she said, pressing cloth to his wound. "It's nothing," he lied. His arm burned like fire, but Lorena was still alive. Who sent that killer? Vela asked, voice shaking. Elias looked at the cracked mask left behind. It had a symbol on the inside royal. "There from inside the palace," he said. "Someone doesn't want her waking up." Lorena stirred in her sleep, whispering something. They leaned in close. Her voice was weak, but the words were clear. "Uncle." "Poison cage," Elias and Vela looked at each other. Her uncle, Elias, said, "He wants the throne," Vela whispered. "If she dies, he's next in line." The pieces were falling into place. The sickness, the sabotage. The assassin, it was all part of a plan to remove Lyrena without blood on the floor. Let her die slowly, quietly. But now she had survived too long. Now she had a voice again. And they were running out of time. Elias stood, holding his bleeding arm. "We need to move her again," he said. Vela looked afraid. "Where?" "A transport tunnel beneath the eastern wall," he said. "I saw it on the old palace map. K leads to the city. If we can get there, we can hide her among the people. And then?" Vela asked. "Then I finish the treatment," Elias said, "and she wakes up with the truth." They packed quickly, wrapping Lyrena in a healing cocoon. The old machines hummed as they disconnected her gently. She didn't wake, but her body was stronger than before. Elias took the cracked assassin's mask and placed it in his bag. Proof of what they faced. He tied his injured arm and looked at Vela. "You still with me?" She nodded without hesitation, to the end. As they slipped through the hidden passage toward the eastern wall, the halls behind them fell silent once more, but the shadow had already spread. And far above, in a golden tower, a man in royal robes stared out across the stars. "The human doctor lives," he said. His advisor bowed, not for long. The old transport tunnel smelled like dust and old metal. Every step echoed softly as Elias and Vela moved through the dark passage. Lyrena floated beside them, wrapped in the healing cocoon. Her breath steady but shallow. The deeper they went, the colder it got. Elias checked her vitals again. "She's stable," he whispered. Vela held a light sphere in one hand. Eyes scanning the shadows, they had escaped the assassin. But that didn't mean they were safe. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into an old underground station, long forgotten, filled with broken crates and abandoned tools. They laid Lyrena gently on a blanket and sat nearby to rest. Elias leaned against the wall, his arms still bandaged, pain pulsing with every heartbeat. Vela looked at him, her voice soft. "You didn't have to come." "I know," Elias replied, "but I couldn't stay away." "Why?" she asked, truly wanting to understand. "You're not one of us. You don't know her." Elias stared at the sleeping princess, her face peaceful now. "I've seen too many people left to die," he said slowly, "just because they were poor, or powerless, or forgotten. When I saw her face, I saw that same pain, and something in me said no more." Vela nodded, quiet for a while. "You're different from the others," she said. "Most aliens think humans are wild, selfish, or dangerous." Elias gave a tired smile. "Some of us are," he said. "But some of us choose to care." Just then, Lyrena's body moved. Her fingers twitched, her head turned slightly. Her eyes opened slowly. Softly, Elias rushed to her side. "Lyrena," he whispered, her lips parted, dry and weak. "You came," she said. Voice like wind. "Yes," Elias said, his voice catching. "You're safe now." She blinked, tears forming at the corners of her glowing violet eyes. "I dreamed I was falling," she said, "and you were the only light I could see." Vela stepped back, giving them space. Elias gently helped Lyrena sit up with support. She looked around, confused. "This isn't the palace." "No," Elias said. "Someone tried to kill you. They poisoned you, sent an assassin. But you're alive because we broke the rules." Lyrena touched her chest, feeling the strange warmth inside her. "Feel different," she said. Elias nodded. "The serum worked. But it did more. It made you stronger, faster, more than what you were before." She looked at him with wonder. "You broke laws. For me." Elias shrugged. "I didn't care about their laws. I cared about you." Silence fell between them. Heavy and real, Lorena reached out and touched his face gently. "You saved me," she said. No one else tried. At that moment, something passed between them. Not words, not medicine, but trust. Lorena saw not a human outsider. She saw the only person who had held her hand when death came close, and Elias saw not a princess, but a girl who had suffered alone until someone cared enough to fight. "We have to return," Lorena said weakly. "I need to face my uncle. He can't keep hiding in shadows." Elias looked at her with concern. "You're still healing. You need time. I've waited long enough," she said firmly. "If I don't speak now, he wins." Vila stepped forward. "There's a secret entrance near the market district. It leads straight to the lower palace chambers." Lorena nodded slowly. "Then that's where we go." Elias helped her stand, her legs shaking but strong. He wrapped his arm around her for support. She leaned on him without shame. "You're not just a doctor," she said. "You're my hope." Elias felt something in his chest warm, steady, and knew a bond had formed. Not of blood, not of duty, but something deeper. Two souls from different worlds, but standing side by side against the same enemy, as they prepared to move again. Elias gave her a soft smile. "You sure you're ready? To be a warrior?" Lorena smiled back, tired but fierce. "I was born a princess," she said. "But you made me a fighter." The city below the palace was quiet before sunrise. Shadows stretched across empty streets and sleeping homes. 3 figures moved through. The alleys, silent and careful, Elias, Lorena, and Vila kept low. Hiding under cloaks, Lorena walked slowly, her legs still weak, but she didn't complain. Her eyes burned with purpose. Every step she took brought her closer to the truth. They reached an old stone wall covered in vines and cracks. Vela brushed the wall gently, then pressed a hidden panel. A small door slid open without sound. Behind it was a narrow stairwell leading into the palace tunnels. "This path will take us to the lower throne chamber," Vela whispered. "No one uses it anymore." "Perfect," Elias said, helping Lorena down each step. He noticed her grip on his arm was strong now. The serum had done more than save hurt, had awakened something deeper inside her. As they moved through the tunnel, Lorena began to speak. "My uncle always smiled in front of others," she said. "He told my father he loved me like his own daughter, but I saw how he looked at the throne, like it already belonged to him." She stopped and took a deep breath. "When I fell sick, I thought it was fate. But now I know it was him. He wanted me gone, silent, forgotten." Elias touched her shoulder. "You survived," he said. "And now you'll speak louder than ever before." They reached a sealed door with ancient royal carvings. Lorena stepped forward and placed her hand on the lock. A soft light scanned her palm. The door opened with a slow hiss. Inside was the lower throne's chamber, dark, empty, cold, but footsteps echoed on the other side. Voices whispered behind the thick doors. Lorena leaned on the wall, her breath growing heavy again. "I need to give her the final dose," Elias said to Vila. "She's strong, but not enough for what's coming." Vila nodded. "Do it quickly." Elias pulled out a silver case and opened it. Inside was the last vial, glowing bright blue. He knelt beside Lorena. "This is the final step," he said softly. "It will either finish the healing or be too much." Lorena looked into his eyes. "I trust you," she said, without hesitation. Elias injected the serum into her arm. The effect was instant. Her body shook. Not with pain, but with power. Blue light spread through her veins. Like lightning, her breath became fast, her eyes wide open, glowing like twin stars. Vela stepped back in awe. "She's changing," she whispered. Lorena screamed, not in fear, but like a warrior returning to life. She fell to her knees, hands on the floor, glowing brighter. Then everything stopped. She slowly stood. Tall and calm, her wounds were gone, her skin shimmered. She looked like a queen made of light and fire. The doors to the upper chamber burst open, guards rushed in, weapons drawn. Behind them stood the traitor, her uncle. He froze when he saw her standing. "You," he said, voice filled with disbelief. "You should be dead." Lorena stepped forward, her voice strong and sharp. "You tried to bury me," she said, "but I was a seed." The guards looked at her, unsure what to do. The princess was alive. Stronger than ever, the traitor pointed at Elias, shouting, "This human poisoned her. He used forbidden medicine." "He saved me," Lorena shouted, her voice echoing through the walls. "He gave me back my life when no one else would. And now I return not as a victim, but as your judge." The chamber fell into silence. The guards lowered their weapons. One by one, they dropped to one knee, not to the uncle, but to the true heir of the throne. Lorena turned to Elias, her eyes still glowing. "You stood by me when I was dying," she said. "Now stand with me as I take back what's mine." Elias smiled, wounded but proud. "I wouldn't be anywhere else," he said. Vila stepped beside them, eyes full of tears. "For the first time in my life," she said, "I believe will." When above them, the palace lights turned on as the sun began to rise. Golden lights spilled into the chamber, and the fire inside Lorena burned even brighter. The great hall of the palace had never felt so alive. The golden walls reflected morning light, and the air was thick with tension and whispers. Guards stood silent, nobles peeked from balconies, and high advisors watched with wide eyes. All of them had seen the impossible princess, Lorena, once dying, now walking like fire reborn. She stepped into the center of the throne room with Elias and Vela behind her. Her uncle sat on the throne she was never meant to leave. His smile was gone, replaced by fear. He rose slowly, voice trembling. "Lorena, this is not the time or place for drama." She raised her hand and the chamber fell silent. "This is exactly the time and place," she said. "For too long, I was quiet. For too long. I trusted people like you." She turned to the gathered crowd. "I was poisoned, not by illness, but by greed. I was left to die, not by fate, but by a traitor in this room." Gasps echoed across the chamber. Her uncle shouted, "Lies. You bring a human doctor into our royal house and accuse me without proof." Elias stepped forward, holding up a small silver disc. "This contains her full medical data," he said calmly. "It shows the genetic tampering, the hidden markers, and the source." Lorena narrowed her eyes. "And the source points to your personal lab. You didn't just want the throne," she said. "You wanted me erased." The traitor backed away, his guards uncertain. "I did what I had to for the future of this empire," he snapped. "No," Lorena said, her voice sharp. "You did it for yourself." One by one, the nobles stepped forward. Some bowed to her. Others dropped their family crests in shame. The emperor's most loyal guard, an older warrior named Corin, stepped beside her and knelt. "We failed you, princess," he said. "But we are ready to follow you now." The throne room doors opened wide, and the emperor entered slowly. He had been in mourning, hidden away. But now he looked at his daughter with tears in his eyes. "My star," he whispered. "You lived." Lorena ran into his arms, glowing with light and joy. "I lived," she said, "because a human broke every rule to save me." The emperor turned to Elias and bowed his head. "In our history, no outsider has done what you have," he said. "You deserve more than thanks." But the royal council still hesitated. One elder stepped forward, speaking with fear. "The human broke sacred laws. He used forbidden medicine. He must be punished." Lorena stood between them, eyes fierce. "Then punish me as well," she said, "because I chose to live. If you take him, you lose me. The room froze. The council stared at her, confused and shaken. The elder bowed his head. Then we accept your judgment. Elias looked at her, eyes full of quiet surprise. You didn't have to do that, he said. Yes. I did, Lorena replied softly. You saved my body, but you also saved my spirit. I'm not just alive, she whispered. I feel alive in the days that followed. The traitor was removed and sent into exile. Lorena's name was sung across the empire as the Phoenix Princess. The girl who rose from death and reclaimed her crown, but one thing still remained. One choice, not royal, not public, but personal. Late one evening, she found Elias standing alone on a palace balcony. He stared at the stars, quiet as always. You never asked for anything, she said behind him. He smiled without turning. I came to help, not to gain. She walked closer, her voice softer. But what if I offered something anyway? What if I asked you to stay? Not as a doctor, not as a guest, but as someone beside me, always. Elias turned, his face serious but warm. You're a princess, he said. You deserve more than someone like me. I had everything. Before, she replied, and I was still alone. Now I have one person who looked into my soul and didn't flinch. I don't want more, she whispered. I just want you. He took her hand gently. Then you have me, he said, for as long as you want. And under the starlight, on a world healed by truth and love, the human doctor and the alien princess stood together, no longer patient and healer, but partners in a future no one else believed was possible.